So, Megaman Star Force was a pleasant surprise. A mature story masking the more cheesy, Saturday morning cartoonish aspect that the Battle Network games have been used to made it a real treat to play. I felt like I've said this before. Right, because, yeah. Star Force 2 was much of the same to most degrees, sometimes even degrading in some aspects of the game. And I don't know, didn't really find it that enjoyable to play through, unlike the first one. But I obviously had to keep going because, I wanted to see if the series could recover that, and also, to an extent, Star Force 3 was kind of an early Christmas gift. So, surprise! Now it's a Christmas episode. But yeah, Star Force 3, Red Joker in this case, the first one I managed to collect of the three, although it came kind of in rapid succession, so that kind of doesn't really matter. But I stayed patient and played this one last to kind of give myself a little bit of a continuity aspect to the whole series. And what did I think about it? Well, that's what we're here to find out. So let's ride on and take a look at Megaman Star Force 3, Red Joker in this case. Alrighty, before we dive in, I just wanted to note something with the box art. I know, weird point, and I usually don't pick up on these things, but at least with the Red Joker box art, there's this black bar just sitting there on the top, like they didn't fully stretch out the rest of the image. It kind of feels lazy. Oh boy. Hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come. Megaman Star Force 3 takes place sometime after the second. Duh. Due to the advancement of technology, everyone's now equipped with special devices called Hunters, with the ability to get special EM-based beings named Wizards to join people. Waves have gotten so strong now that people can see almost all form of wave being now. Geo continues to do kid things, as now Luna intends to upgrade from class prez to student body prez, so now you have to go around acquiring support. However, strange occurrences with some wizards going berserk have been happening more and more recently, with some super secret group going around collecting these special data pieces called Crimson. So after the Satella police officer known as Ace gets in touch with Geo about getting their help, Geo must then prepare for whatever dastardly deed is coming their way. So that is pretty much the gist of the opening, but I just wanted to note something real quick. Star Force's world building is all kinds of messed up. Hear me out. I played the first one and thought, alright, radio waves being the main source of info and tech and blah, sure. Definitely not like Battle Network, but a believable evolution from the internet and PETs. Virtual and augmented reality are pretty close to that aspect in a sense anyways. But then we go to Star Force 2, with EM waves performing better even on ground level ever since the main satellites have gone offline, alongside the very fast phasing out of transers for star carriers. And then we have going from 2 to 3, where now every Tom, Dick, and Harry has their own Omega-like creature, and EM beings are just consistently showing up all the time, and now we have the technology to just create physical matter with EM waves. It feels like a huge jump in tech within the time frame given to you, because remember, Geo was in the 5th grade at least at the start of Star Force 1, then all the time jumps throughout the game, then there was a 2-month skip between 1 and 2, time jumps there, then the sort of indeterminate time between 2 and 3, but Geo is still in the 5th grade, so it's sort of safe to assume that it's been less than a year, and yet within that time, the popular means of general communication and tech has been phased out twice. EM waves went from just starting to make cars to whole-ass function stages standing on the smallest pillar ever, and people just have wizards based loosely on the FM and AM beings despite no one even knowing they were a thing from the start of the series, save for the odd person. I mean, even Apple at least waits a year before telling people that they need to get the new iPhone. Maybe if I had played the games when they were actually released, maybe I wouldn't have noticed, but these weird jumps in tech sort of pulls me out of the world building, at least. That's not to say the story is overall bad, though, by itself. The main big bad could be less goofy looking, but his underlings are all pretty interesting and play a significant role with the plot, and thankfully Geo is way better written this go around. He acts in a more mentorial fashion, Is that even a word? Nah, should be. He acknowledges his past trauma and is able to sympathize with others thanks to that understanding, leading to some neat interactions with the villains. Even if they pull the old, we hung out like once and now I know everything about you stunt. Also, not to really spoil anything, but does certain parts of the plot remind me of Kingdom Hearts 2? Or is it just me? I don't know. I won't explain further, but use that as a clue to how things might go further in. And hell yeah, would you look at that? I told them Mega's head as the Buster looked stupid, and they took it off. And you know what? This is a great looking design for Mega Man. I actually kind of like it more than EXE in my opinion, and thanks to the new noise forms, it can be even further augmented to look even better to some degree. Same could sort of be said about the music. I don't know. I've never really been terribly moved by the Battle Network or Star Force music, save for a few tracks here and there, but thankfully the main theme, Shooting Star V3, is awesome. I said it sounded alright in 1, but I feel like V3 has more substance to the song to make it a more enjoyable tune. I better save combat for later. There's a bit to go over. So, Geo can pulse in whenever he wants now, so that's cool. Although it's called Transin, which sucks. Pulsing in sounds cooler, but that's beside the point. The wave road does still exist, but you have to find these special wave stations to teleport up to it. While on the ground, Mega Man can't get into random encounters, but can interact with viruses on the overworld to start fights from there. Not sure if there's a bonus to it. I think the manual said something like that, but it's there. As well, there's some special interactable noise spaces that you can enter. They usually hold tougher fights for the area you're in, but with better rewards, both in post-battle drops and the mystery data found within, at the cost of having to find the exit in order to trans out. Interesting to note, though ultimately probably useless to some, but if you do enough consistent searching, you'll usually find enough unlockers to use on the locked data all throughout as you go along, so that's kinda cool. Though to compensate, most rewards kinda felt underwhelming to me. Using the visualizer all the time isn't viable anymore though. For some reason now when you put it on, anything that's human can't be viewed, so then you might as well just trans in now. Accepting side quests is so much better now. On top of just far less annoying traversal to where you need to go, when you talk to anyone, they can have a help icon pop up, and if you click that and then talk to them again, you can accept their quest, easy peasy. Essentially, it is the same as Star Force 2, but you can trans in wherever, so it doesn't really matter. Only one quest can be accepted at a time though, which is the same as 2, but at least with 2, you can keep tabs on potential side quest givers thanks to the red bubble over the people's heads. In 3, not only do you have to talk to the person to actively know if they have a quest, but if you've already accepted one, the icon won't show up again on anyone even if they have a quest until you fulfill the said quest you're on or give up on it, which is a little rough. Now, combat has gone through quite the mechanical change. On paper, it looks extremely similar, but in practice, there's a lot more effort put in order to succeed with it. So, to start, you can not only select cards on the same column, but the same row indefinitely. Before, you had to be in either Star Force or UPART to do so. Not a big change, but offers even more choices in one round. Good since wild cards are all but gone. You can't set cards as favorites like before to act as the white cards. You can set one as a definitive card, something like that. These will always show up at the start of fights, no matter what. As well, panel types finally sort of matter, as now cracked panels show up on your side more often alongside the enemy side, meaning that on your side you'll skip over to the next available hole when you're trying to move, or if it's on the other side, then you obviously can't lock on to that location, as well as with the new hack panels, which basically act the same way. They just sort of show up on the enemy side, keeping you from reaching the enemy, so you have to use long-reaching attacks or just ranged weaponry. But now you might be wondering why some cards can't be clicked right from the start. Well, randomly picked throughout the course of a fight, cards you put into your deck can become support cards. By selecting these cards with the touchscreen only, you can either select them as support, their property being dependent on the card's element, Or if you really want to use the card outright, you can select it as a single-use card, but will be unable to take any other card with you into that round. I'm very mixed on this system. By utilizing the support feature, it theoretically means that you have no need for many support type cards we've been used to, like attack plus 10 or even invisibility, allowing you to forego those basic cards for others you may want. Some are even exclusive to the support feature, like Area Eater for the most part, which combos really well with the new B-Slap card specifically. But more often than not, cards that become support cards are always ones I'd just rather use outright, but preferably with another card selected, whether it be to just wombo combo an enemy or to assist with the new noise system. So a large aspect to Star Force's 3 plot progression is the use and misuse of noise and how Geo is able to resist the negative effects of it. After installing the Joker program, you then get a percentage tracker in the top right of the screen during battles. Against regular enemies, you can raise the percentage by defeating viruses with certain cards. Honestly, it's a little inconsistent. Probably didn't read all the fine print. I know screen dimming cards don't affect it. I think it's normal type cards in general that can only affect it. That seems to be the most common trait that I've noticed. Irregardless, the percentage goes up when you defeat a virus with a card. How much it goes up by is the difference between the enemy's remaining health and the strength of the cards you use. You want to get it up for a variety of reasons. Getting the number over 100% at the end of most fights will create an augment to your reward, and it can almost literally be anything. Mega cards, boss cards. One of the very first rewards I got was like a Sword Fighter 3 card, something you don't really see until near the very end of the game, and it's incredible. It creates an extra layer of engagement to battles other than just stacking yourself with superpowered cards and blasting through everything. And the random rewards means every battle could be worthwhile. I really like the system. I don't know if I just hallucinated it though, but I swore the game said that high levels of noise would cause different effects in battles with enemies, but other than the background glitching out more with high noise, I never really noticed anything out of the sort, you know? The other aspect to noise is the noise forms. A little after getting the Joker program, you can inherit the form of a boss from throughout the series, essentially acting as the Star Force or Oop Art mechanic from before. Inheriting the form unlocks special upgrades like float shoes, for example, or fast charge for something else, and gives Mega Man an element and unique charge attack. That being said, you don't just inherit the form naturally, it's wonky. At 0% in battle, your design and abilities are the only thing that's different. If you can raise your noise to 50% though, you'll change colors to the form's normal look and gain the new buster, element, and benefits for the fight. You don't always have to start every fight that way though. If you finish a fight past the 100 mark, the next fight you automatically get to start at 50%, and it can't drop below 50 unless you're hit with your form's weakness. That being said, another reason to try and maintain at least 100 is that if you can't keep it above 100 at the end of a fight, you drop back down to 0. It's a little rough to get into the swing of things, but it's generally not that bad of a feature. Makes you actually have to put in work to maintain your special powers rather than just hitting the button or putting in the program to have use of it. However, what happens when you exceed expectations, go beyond plus 200%? I don't know where this is going. Going past 200% noise in a fight will allow you to link with the Meteor G server and use your game's unique noise form known as a finalization. Red Joker in my case, and so on a first normal playthrough, I don't even know how you can make this something you can depend on, let alone have any worthwhile use out of it. In regular fights alone, getting to 100 can sometimes be a chore, but 200? The fights are usually over before that mark, and when in battles with bosses, the rules for noise acquisition kind of changes, I think being more based around the strength of the first card used in a round, but even then, I think I only ever used it like twice that actually felt like a necessary use to actually have the finalization. When you do get to use it, you also get to utilize the server's special cards, which are usually some really strong like V3 or X type cards usually. still saps the moment away because, again, it's usually like the last thing you do before the fight ends. So, back to regular noise forms, check this out. Look at all these noise forms you can use. The thing, though, is that you can only have access to one at a time. So how do you get the chance to use more? When you run around the wave road or comp spaces, you might get this warning that'll pop up from time to time. Makes you kind of freak out when it happens. These initiate either a fight with a previously fought boss or a large virus fight. Finishing these will randomly reward you with a noise form change, letting you decide whether to take on the new form or stick to your old one, behaving much like the style change of Battle Network 3. The part that kinda sucks is that you at least have a countdown to know when you'll change in Battle Network 3. Here, it's a percentage chance, but I must have just had like the worst luck ever, because A, I never got a new form till like the next to last portion of the game, and B, I got Wolfwood's form as my first, and I hated it. Ugh. Weak to fire, which is super common, and a charge attack that can't hit the back to your rows, where most common viruses like to hang out anyways. Ugh. I did get Cygnus as my second, and it was way better with its Vulcan-type charge shot and free floating air shoes. Made me wish I could have used that right from the start. I even spent an hour or so trying to like hunt down warning fights to try and change it there at one point, but it never happened. The warning fights don't spawn all that quick, and yeah, the percentage chance to actually change your waveform just is not very high. But that is something that is sort of beneficial though. Like I said, while you need 50% noise to utilize the unique charge shot, the typing and the special counter move that we've seen before, you still get access to the form's abilities indefinitely. So like in 2, you can set up more abilities with your link power acting as your points to equip. You definitely get more room to work with sooner here in this case though, since you get a lot more story-based brothers all throughout, alongside some side quests letting you form brothers with some other people. No undershirt from the get-go? Wonder when I'll get it. Oh my god, it's just before the final dungeon when you get undershirt. That's crazy. Blocking is a little better. It feels like you can cancel out of a block with a card, so now combat truly feels like it can be truly skill-based fully. And while favorites are gone, you can download cards from these wave stations, and those cards are added to your folder as white cards. In terms of the dungeons, they make a nice return with some solid puzzles throughout, although the final dungeon could have been mapped out a little better. That said, Star Force 3 tends to break the typical routine of story setup, problem, solution, dungeon, boss, repeat. There are clear scenario events like that, but sometimes you deal with more events without a boss, or sometimes you fight back-to-back bosses. It's kind of refreshing, kept the story feeling more unpredictable and fulfilling. Even more so that Star Force 3 is easily the longest Star Force or Battle Network game I've ever played naturally, and fortunately I was surprised it was as long as it was. Star Force 2 felt long because of shoddy side questing. Remove them and it'd actually be pretty short. Star Force 3 has a very engaging story and a much better questing system, making time pass me by while having fun, and that's a great sign. Although without Undershirt, there's definitely a few hang-ups for long-term Battle Network or Star Force fans that you have to kind of get used to. Gotta pay attention to how much damage enemies are doing sometimes. Now, before I wrap this up here, there is something I do want to go over in regards with the series as a whole. Someone brought it up in a comment, so I figured I'd bring it up here. The Star Force games followed the trend of the later Battle Network games by releasing multiple versions, but in Star Force's case, there really isn't much of a difference. Do you like lions, dragons, or Pegasuses? Oh, it's both. Weird. I'm ruining this already. Sorry. Do you like lions, dragons, or the creature formerly known as Pegasus? Do you like ninjas or dinosaurs? Do you like red or black? Or, whichever one is readily available that won't break the bank. The main differences really is that basic, where Battle Network had characters, plot events, and unique souls, crosses, etc. Between these games, Star Force is mostly unnecessary, superfluous even. There's your word of the day. Star Force 3 almost had the chance to have purpose for its multiple versions with the noise forms, but after a little research, it showed that every game can have access to the same group of forms, just some have a different chance to drop between the games, making the finalization the only unique part of the game. The only real reason for the multiple versions here is to link up with others, to get the other Star Forces in 1, to let you double tribe easier or perform Tribe Kings in 2, or do a similar function in 3 where you can apparently merge 2 noise forms together with a friend. That alongside forming brothers for more abilities to be equipped. So if you're concerned about which copy to get for any of the Star Force games, I can assure you it really doesn't matter in this case. So if you want to collect a physical copy, just go for the one that won't break your bank, or if you're ROMing, just pick one. Maybe go for the version of Star Force 3 that has the higher chance of getting the noised form that you want. And with that, that's basically it, finally. Definitely felt like there was a lot to go over with this one, but unlike 2, Star Force 3 definitely deserves its length because it's a fantastic game to play through. The combat does take a little bit of getting used to, but I feel like it finally comes into its own with this iteration. The designs are way better, the music's pretty good, the story is passable throughout most of it, but it actually sticks a really strong landing right at the very end of the game, and it even kind of got me choked up a little bit while experiencing it, and that's just a fantastic experience to have, and to that extent, it makes Star Force 3 probably my favorite of the trilogy. Though, to be fair, it's kind of unfortunate that 2 exists the way that it does, because just with how poor the story was and how repetitive the gameplay kind of was, it kind of keeps the trilogy from being legendary, you know? But, I mean, if you really think about it, with how much it is actually introduced in Star Force 2 in terms of the grander story and all that, you could honestly ignore 2 and you would have a fantastic duology in Star Force 1 and 3, and I think that's fantastic. And although I did definitely have to pay a pretty penny to get a hold of these games, I'm glad that I finally have had the opportunity to do so. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you saw, you can click right up there to check out some of my other videos that I've done, or if you really feel like it, you can click right up there to subscribe. And in case you also feel like it, I'll leave my Twitter link down below in case you want to check that out. I don't post a whole lot, but I'm trying. I do at least post updates there. But with all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.